So September starts our fall-winter season here on Practically Culture, which means it's time for the fall-winter preseason power rankings, where we give you our best guesses at how good the upcoming movies and TV shows will be. Last week I went over upcoming TV, and this week Bob will go over movies. Give it to us, Bob.
Okay, so I personally think, and maybe it's easy for me to say because I haven't seen any of these movies and I get excited for movies, standard disclaimer, at least for Bob, I guess, but I personally think the fall lineup is better than the summer lineup. We'll see if I agree with myself in 3 to 4 months' time, but let's start. I'm going to skip this coming week because I think we'll cover that in our weekend picks, and actually it's good timing because this coming week is still pretty low-key by comparison. It's really 2 weeks from now where the fall season, if you will, or the sort of kicks off. So first movie on the list, Rush. Now, Rush is a Ron Howard film, so he did A Beautiful Mind, and he's done so many movies. He usually has Oscar bait-like movies. I'm not accusing him of anything. His movies are pretty good, but they're generally pretty thematic and heavy in some ways, but also storybook-like in other ways. If you catch my drift, they're pretty good usually, though. Rush stars.
Sure.
Chris Hemsworth and some other famous people, and it's about race car drivers competing, and one of them gets in a huge accident, and this is all given away in the first 30 seconds of the preview. It seems pretty intense, but it's all about race car driving, so I don't know that I'm super excited based on the premise, but the direction and the actors, and it's getting good buzz, so it seems like a pretty good drama, so there you go.
Isn't this the one where in the preview Ron Howard is like, you wouldn't think this would be a good story, but I'm telling you, trust me, as Ron Howard, it's interesting.
Oh, is there a preview like that? I haven't seen that.
I've seen it on the commercial, and that's not exactly what he says. It's just I feel like that's what he's trying to say when he shows up on this commercial or preview, whatever I've seen. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because that's exactly how I feel. He's like speaking directly to me, Logan. It's like, no, really, you should see it. Okay, so next on the list is Gravity. Now, Gravity stars George Clooney and Sandra Bullock, opening October 4th. It's about an astronaut and engineer that get lost in space. So this comes from the director of my favorite Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, the third Harry Potter, and the director of Children of Men, which I actually thought was a really good movie. What's his name?
You're talking about Alfonso Cuarón.
Yes. See, you always you say the names better than I do anyway.
Tu Mamá También as well.
Yes, that's another. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard good things from you and others. So this is getting a lot of buzz for its special effects, which aren't what you expect. They're not wowie zowie summer blockbuster special effects. It really makes you feel like you're lost in space, and it takes you along for the ride. And sign me up. It sounds fascinating, and I love George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. If she's given the right role, sure. I'm not over her yet, even though I said I was before.
Yeah, we've talked about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen previews, a lot of previews of this, yeah, that creative team sounds pretty good. Somehow the previews don't really draw me in, like it's not my kind of movie, but I have a feeling we'll end up seeing it.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, a Lost in Space movie with only 2 characters and a lot of floating around, it seems problematic for keeping someone engaged, but I think we're both going to give it a try. So next, Captain Phillips. Now, this is another one that it's largely the creative team or the person behind it that's driving it, my wanting to see it. So this is the same dude that's behind a lot of the Bourne movies and that documentary on 9/11. Not documentary. It's a drama. United 93 or whatever the number of the plane was.
Yeah.
And it stars Tom Hanks. Sorry, his name is Paul Greengrass, the director. And this has to do, based on true events, the Somali pirate situation from a few years back, so we all sort of know how it ends, but there seems to be plenty to work with in terms of putting together a dramatic, heart-throbbing, edge-of-your-seat sort of subtle action suspense drama. I'm actually really excited about this one because I think Paul Greengrass does great movies, and I think this movie resonates with me. Um, so there. How about you? Are you interested?
Yeah, well, I've seen previews of it, and it's another one that doesn't seem like my kind of movie, but you're right, the creative team and Tom Hanks do make it appealing.
Cool. So good. It won't take too much to convince you to see it. Next on the list is The Fifth Estate. So this is the drama slash pseudo documentary that is based around the WikiLeaks founder. Seems very timely and
Oh,
relevant in this day and age of, Bradley Manning and Edward Snowden type stuff and Big Brother watching us. So I'm intrigued. It's starring that British heartthrob everyone likes. What's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch. Am I saying his name right?
yeah.
um,
Heartthrob, is that what he is? Anyway, whatever, we'll table that one.
Sure, maybe not heartthrob, but I swear lots of people love this guy and have man crushes on him if they're not women.
That's
So
true.
he plays Julian Assange, and I've heard that Julian Assange is not endorsing this film and doesn't necessarily like how he's portrayed, but I mean, who would like how they're portrayed in a movie that has nothing to do with them signing over their rights to be in a movie like this? But whatever. The premise here is really what has me. This movie could go either way,
Sure.
but I'm excited. They had me at the Fifth Estate, the name of it, and WikiLeaks. That's sounds good. So there's that.
Groovy.
Next, Don John. So this is Joseph Gordon-Levitt's debut as a
I'm
writer
so
slash
excited about
director.
this one.
Now this seems like it's your type of movie, right?
Yeah. That promo, that preview, just it's perfect. My favorite is Scarlett Johansson in that Jersey accent. Anyway, but I'm stealing your thunder. Go for it.
No, you're doing a great job. So it stars Scarlett Johansson and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who also directs and wrote the script. And it's about a kind of a meathead, tough guy who has a decent life and can get any woman he wants. He's in good shape. But also, he likes his fair share of porn, too. And that's about all I know about it from the preview. And then his girlfriend catches him watching porn, but they have a unique relationship, and it seems to expose things that aren't normally exposed in, quote-unquote romantic comedies, if we can even call this that sort of categorization. Anything to add?
Yeah, well, I just love the characters that you can already tell coming to life in the preview with what's his name? It's not Gordon-Levitt. I'm blanking.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, he just is this meathead sort of guy, and Scarlett Johansson just as this Jersey Shore type girlfriend. Just I don't know, the characters they make even in the previews just makes it seem like it's going to be a really fun movie, I think.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have a good time on that one. That opens September 27th wide. Next up is The Counselor. So this is the latest movie from Ridley Scott, who usually does good movies. I like seeing Ridley Scott movies. And this stars a lot of famous people. Not that that's everything that you need to see a movie for, but in this case, it's pretty close. We've got Michael Fassbender as the lead, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Javier Bardem, Brad Pitt. It's about a lawyer who gets, I don't know if he's framed or set up, or I can't quite tell from the preview, but he gets into, played by Michael Fassbender, he gets into some hot water, and it seems like a pretty riveting drama, Ridley Scott style, with a great ensemble cast. So I'm sold. I'm going to see this.
Yeah, all those people for being famous are like the people who I like even more than commensurate with how famous they are. So that sounds like a pretty great cast to me.
Nice. Awesome. So that's October 25th. Next up is Ender's Game. Now, this one we have to see. I mean, I read this book in like one night as a 16-year-old kid, and I loved it. It's Orson Scott Card's book coming to the big screen. It stars Asa Butterfield, Harrison Ford, Abigail Breslin, Viola Davis, Ben Kingsley. It's got a interesting, pretty good cast. This is problematic because anybody who knows the book knows that it's revolves around children a lot, and even the cast had to be sort of aged appropriately to make it work. So they're older than they are in the book. I don't know why I mentioned that. I guess it's not that important, but uh, I think this one could be easy to mess up, and I'm a little nervous about the director, Gavin Hood, because he directed basically the worst X-Men movie. So there's that.
Well, I feel like you haven't said it, but a big part of why he has a special place in our heart is, for good or ill, he's a Mormon, like we were when we read it. And I just feel like that's a big reason why we're definitely seeing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I've read a lot of his books, not just Ender's Game, though I haven't read nearly as many of his books as plenty of my friends growing up. I mean, this guy's written a ton of books, and this is by far his most famous one. But it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the world perceives it in movie form, and yeah, we'll be right there reviewing it. So I'm excited.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, next up on the list, this one almost didn't make the list, but I feel like I just can't ignore it. Thor: The Dark World. So this is the fall comic book movie, Marvel's latest. It's the sequel slash. I mean, there was the one with all of the characters, the Avengers in the middle. So this one's after that, but now based on Thor. I don't know. Like, nothing makes sense in these comic book movies now that they've just combined all the characters and then they go back to the separate story of gods coming to Earth. But it stars Natalie Portman, and I'll watch her in almost anything, sure. Uh,
All
and
right.
it seems like there's a lot of buzz and it's huge and blah blah blah. So maybe we'll see it. November 8th, opening wide. Next, now this next movie I'm more excited for. The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay. Well, I'm back. I'll just be a little picture instead of a moving half resolution picture. But we're dedicated. We're here. We're gonna pick it up again. Where were we, Bob?
Well, we love you even as a picture, Logan. So,
Ah,
um, let's talk about The Wolf of Wall Street. I'm excited for this movie. It's opening wide November 15th. It's brought to you by Martin Scorsese. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Matthew McConaughey, and it's something to do about uh, big bad bankers living it up, living a good life on Wall Street, and something's not quite going to go their way. I can tell, but it seems like there's a lot to show that fall from grace. Maybe that's not the right phrase, but uh, I'm excited for this. It looks like a lot of fun, and it's a great premise as far as I'm concerned. Are you interested?
I haven't heard anything about it. I mean, Scorsese's always worth getting interested in, and but I guess bankers are the villains, or at least the banking system, something like that.
Maybe the banking system. That's the thing about it that I can't quite tell from the previews, but Leonardo DiCaprio and Matthew McConaughey are both portrayed pretty charmingly. Like you
Hmm.
you want to hate them, but you love them, even though they're doing all the wrong things or living the life you wish you could without hurting
Don't hate
people.
the player, hate the game, huh?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll see that when it comes out, November 15th.
I think we will.
Next up is another token. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't, but it's so huge. The Hunger Games Catching Fire. So, Logan, did you see the
Look up.
first Hunger Games?
No, I'm not gonna go back and do some homework. If that's what I'm gonna have to do.
Uh, yeah, well, that alone makes me feel like not. I know, the first one, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't amazingly good either. So I don't know. We'll see if this is if there's enough demand or buzz that we feel like we need to be plugged in and watch it. But it's action adventure starring Jennifer Lawrence, Liam Hemsworth, Elizabeth Banks, Woody Harrelson, Stanley Tucci. It's got a good ensemble cast, but it's all about Jennifer Lawrence. She's gonna be where all the screen time is for the most part, like she was in the first one. I'm sure it'll be interesting in its own way. It's a decent story based on the books by the same name, second in the series. I'm going to move on. We'll see.
Okay.
The Hobbit, The
Mm.
Desolation of Smaug. This is the second. Let me get this right. Um,
Yeah, I
The
think it's
sec
second.
Yeah, well, it's just weird because it's just one frickin' book, but I think they're making it into three movies. So it's the second in the trilogy of the thing that's based on just one book. Um, that said, I really like the first one. People complain about what I just complained about, and that it's really long and blah blah blah. But this is my favorite of the Tolkien books anyway. It's the one I read multiple times when I was a wee lad and really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to it, and it opens wide December 13th.
You and Stephen Colbert both loved the first one, huh?
Yes, yes. Good. I'm glad we have that in common. Um, it's starring Martin Freeman, Ian McKellen, and I hear there's a performance coming back from what's his name? Orlando Bloom, as the
Oh.
elf. We'll see. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know I took my 2012 Mulligan, but I might go and do some homework after this one too.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen okay. So, the Hunger Games is one thing, but come on, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, you're gonna need to watch that movie.
All right.
Okay, next up is The Monuments Men, based on a true story of the greatest treasure hunt in history. Uh, I'm interested in this mostly because it is directed and written by George Clooney, who
Oh,
generally does a good job with his stuff, starring Matt Damon, George Clooney himself, Bill Murray, Kate Blanchett, John Goodman, great cast.
yeah.
World, it is a World War II movie. I say that as if we have talked about this a lot before. I don't know that we have on the show, but it feels like World War II movies, we've had a billion of them already, but still.
Yeah, but I feel like we've had a little bit of a breather. I can't remember the last one I saw. It was probably Inglourious Bastards, though that was in the middle of like this string of Nazi movies. But I feel like it's been a few years, a little breathing room. That is not necessarily negative for me at this point in 2013.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. And it's, George Clooney with this cast. I think we're going to give it a go. That is a Christmas movie, or, well, I guess it opens a little earlier. It opens December 18th, and just two more that I want to cover.
Okay.
Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. Uh,
What would you do if I told you I would have to do homework on this one too?
you should, man. It's a ridiculous movie. This is I don't know how to even describe it, but it's Will Ferrell in the role he was born to play. I think it was hilarious. I want to see this. If there's something better that week, then maybe we'll do something else. But I mean, we've got Steve Carell, Paul Rudd, who else? Christina Applegate. It's
I
just a
think
goofy movie.
Anchorman 2 pretty much tells you everything you need to know.
Right. I love the way the premise is set up. With the 70s behind him, San Diego's top-rated newsman Ron Burgundy returns to the news desk. So he's gonna have to learn a lot. It's no longer the 70s. We're into the 80s where the world has just changed dramatically. So,
All right. One to look forward to.
and last on the list for 2013, American Hustle. So I'm going to read this just a little bit. A fictional film set in the alluring world of one of the most stunning scandals to rock our nation. American Hustle tells the story of a brilliant con man, Irving Rosenfeld, played by Christian Bale, who along with his equally cunning and seductive British partner, Sidney Prosser, played by Amy Adams, is forced to work for a wild FBI agent, Richie DiMasso, played by Bradley Cooper. So this is another for the cast, and I don't know exactly if that premise setup does much for you, but you've got Bradley
Anytime a
Cooper.
premise says "our nation," I don't know. It just seems like a certain kind of movie.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, and Jeremy Renner's in this as well, and Jennifer Lawrence, another Jennifer Lawrence movie. So if we don't
Oh,
see a Hunger Games movie with her, I think we owe the people of the free world a Jennifer Lawrence movie reviewed by us. So
the people of our nation, they
yes,
want us to. All right.
that's right, our nation's people. So. Whew, that's quite the lineup. That was like 13, 14 movies. I think we're going to leave it at that. There's plenty going on, and we'll be here checking it out.